Well, howdy everybody. Dr. Tom Fernandez here again. And as I promised in the last video before I went off on my rant, we're going to do an unboxing of the Raspberry Pi. So I went over all the stuff that I got in the last video. So there's the Raspberry Pi, the SD card, the HDMI cables, the power supply, the Argon 1 case, and also this little box of just electronic stuff like servo motors and sensors and LEDs and switches and buttons, and this will probably take a video of all of its own. Now, I listed all this stuff in a comment underneath the last video, and I'll list it all again here. And essentially what I've done is I've made my own Raspberry Pi kit. So I think this includes everything that you need. But what I didn't mention is that you probably need a keyboard and a mouse. Now, the kits come with really junky keyboards and mice. Now, I have this here. It's a Logitech K400. This didn't come with it. This is just like a reading lamp that I added to it, because one of the things with this keyboard is that it doesn't have a lighted, the keys don't light up. But it does have a trackpad, and that's pretty cool. And it works great with my PC, and I think it's going to work with the Raspberry Pi. It's got a little USB dongle, and so it's wireless. So anyway, so this is something that you might consider. I think it was like 20 bucks or so on Amazon. I'll check that out. But in any case, let's start with the unboxing and the big thrill. Now, this is like, from what I've seen on YouTube, the Raspberry Pis don't come in a very fancy case. So here we are. Doesn't even look like it was glued shut, but I don't know. So I hope this isn't damaged. I hope it's okay. In any case, this is the Raspberry Pi. So that's the CPU right there. Should get a pen or something. So that's the CPU. This is the memory card. Whole bunch of stuff here. Let's see. Yeah, this is the USB-C port, but it's not a data port. It's just a way to power the Pi. These two are HDMI HDMI plugs, but it's a mini HDMI plug. This is it's like a headphone jack, a small headphone jack, but I understand that it also puts out composite video and stuff like that. And on this side, you can see that it's got a 1 gig Ethernet and 2 USB 3s and 2 USB 2s. This is the important stuff. So there's 40 pins here, and this is the sort of basic I/O to the Raspberry Pi, and I still need to learn more about it. But essentially, you can take one of these pins, and from a program in the Raspberry Pi, you can either turn it to high voltage or low voltage. So with that, you either put out, I think it's It's either 0 or 5 volts or 0 and 3 volts. I'm not sure. But in any case, that allows you to output to other digital circuits and to sensors and things like that. And it also allows you to input. So if you have switches and sensors, you can plug them in here. And that's what this thing is going to be all about. But I'm gonna leave this for later. Let's just continue the unboxing. Okay, so I'm gonna do this real fast. This is just 2 HDMI cables. I don't think it's a big deal. It's got to have a mini HDMI or micro HDMI. I'm not sure what that is, but to a regular HDMI, because this version of the Raspberry Pi has mini HDMI connections. Okay, so I got 2 of those. I only were going to connect it to one monitor, but I got 2 of them anyway. Oh, it'll support 2 monitors, which is pretty cool. And this, I think I'm going to have to get Mr. Scissors. So this is the power supply. These are not the best scissors, but we got it to work. And this is the power supply that you get with the Cana kit, but I bought it separately, so you can certainly do that. And so the Raspberry Pi takes a lot of amperage, and so this little power supply outputs 3.5 amps. So that's a good thing. And also it's got a little switch that comes with it. So here, I'll unwrap it so that we can see it better. So it's got a little switch, which is probably a good idea because I don't think the Raspberry Pi has a button for turning power on and off. And if you power it on and off by plugging and unplugging the cord, there's a possibility that, that as you do it repeatedly, you could damage the connection, because there might be some arcing or something as you plug it in and unplug it. So anyway, this is the power supply. This is a USB-C connector, and that plugs into this USB-C socket, and then the switch then can be used to turn it on and off, and you can leave this plugged in to the Raspberry Pi. Okay, so that's the power supply. And the interesting thing here is going to be the case. So again, Mr. Scissors. Calling these things Mr. Scissors is an homage to the British guy on explaining computers, which I really like his videos. Okay, so there's a little book of directions saying how to do this. And here's the actual case. So maybe I can angle this down a bit. I don't know if that's good or not, but okay, so this was the directions. I mean, who reads those, right? So the case provides passive and active cooling. So it's got a little script that you load on the Pi, and then it'll only turn the fan on if the temperature of the CPU gets above a certain point, but the otherwise the whole case, or at least the top of the case, serves as a giant heat sink, and these two knobs here will sit on top of the CPU and the memory, and it comes with these little thermal pads they're kind of used like thermal paste, so they connect the I don't know if you can see that or not, but anyway, there's some thermal pads that you put on these points so that they make a good thermal connection with the cover, which then serves as a heat sink and also has a fan that'll turn on and off depending on the temperature of the CPU. Okay, and it comes with this little daughter board, and let's see if I can open this up. Oh, again, scissors. Okay. Maybe I didn't cut deep enough. No, I think I got it. Okay. And this daughter board is kind of cool because it plugs into the side of the Raspberry Pi. So here's the Raspberry Pi and here's the daughter board, and it plugs into the side like this. So all the connections. So you got the two HDMI ports, and you got to line them up. You got to line them up real good so that the audio jack and the two HDMI ports are lined up. Then you just sort of press it in till it gets tight. And what that does is it really just swings the HDMI ports and the audio jack. It just puts them here on the front with the other connectors, so that when you put them into the argon case, all the connectors come out the back. So I think that's a little bit neater. There's also a cool thing here on the argon case. See, part of the let's see, I'm not sure how that's going to work. Oh, okay. So the argon case, the HDMI, I'm sorry, the I/O ports, these 40 pins here, are going to go into here on the Argon 1 case, and that means they'll be available back here on the back. If I can figure out how to get this off, I think it's just held on by a magnet. Yeah. So then you have access to all your ports on the back of the on the argon case, and then if you're not using the ports, you can just put this little magnetic cover back on. So that's going to be cool. And what else was there? Oh, yeah. So here's the final thing. So this is the SDI card. Here, let me flip this back up. This is the SD card, not SDI, SD card, and you got to download from the Raspberry Pi site. You can download a 32-bit version of Raspbian or Raspberry OS or something. They keep changing the name on it, but you can download that. There's a 32-bit version of the operating system, and that's probably what I'm going to load up on this. There's a beta 64-bit version, but you know, it's got some issues still, and I'll just use the 32-bit version, which means that I won't be able to access all of the 8 gigabytes. So I won't be able to access that, but I think it'll be okay for now. And then later, when the 64-bit operating system comes out of beta, then I'll give that a try. Okay, well, that's the unboxing, and now I gotta download the image from the Raspberry Pi site, and then I'm going to use a program called Etcher to burn that image onto this little card, and then that card will plug in. I'm trying to see where it plugs in. Must plug in somewhere. Yeah, plugs in down here on the bottom on this side. So that's where that'll plug in, and then it should boot. Wish me luck. Have a great day. And I'm not going to do any political rants. I'll just say you got to vote. Everybody's got to vote. Okay. Now, next time I'm going to make another video. Just briefly want to invite you all on a video tour of my coach, my motorhome. Now, I've been living in this almost 5 years now. Me and my wife Diana, okay, and my dog Blanca. Blanca, you want to say hello? Not so much. Okay, so anyway, I'll take you on a whole tour of my coach in another video. Okay, everybody, have a great day. Bye-bye.